everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us for another Minute with Mesia. I have the most awesome powerhouse woman joining me today. She is so amazing. She pulled through some really dark things and just overcame some really intense times in her life and has become just such an amazing icon for fitness, for health, for holistic. So I'm really excited to bring her on. Let me tell you a little bit about her quick. I had a cheat sheet here. She's so amazing. Okay, she qualified for the IWF, participated in the Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge, Blue Lotus Rising. She's a CrossFit trainer, a Reiki practitioner, like I mentioned, holistic healing, meditation, chakra systems, NLP. Just so many things about her are awesome, and I wanted to have her here to kind of share her story and talk to you, let you know that if you're in a dark time or a dark period, that there is answers, there is help, and her program especially is targeted and designed for that. So let me welcome April. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so all of these amazing accomplishments you have on your resume, like your biceps alone, just screams success.
Thanks. That's so. It's still sometimes I don't recognize how I look to other people, and you're just always looking out into the world and you don't see yourself. And so then you put a picture up and I'm like, oh yeah.
Nope.
I'm kind of buff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, really, you were an inspiration. When I started scrolling through those pictures, just being at the gym, I'm thinking, if she can do it, I can do it. And really, anybody can overcome those kinds of things. And that's why we wanted you here today.
Awesome.
To share your story. So when we look at you now, all these accomplishments, super fit, super healthy, super happy, but it hasn't always been like that.
No, and that's the crazy thing is, like, when I come into contact people now, they will ask me, like, how long did it take you to get there? Or, you know what I mean? I want to look like you. Or they all assume, I get a lot of intimidation from people too, where they assume that I've always been this way and I've always looked this way. And I haven't. I was a stay-at-home mom. I went through periods of feeling very overweight. I have 3 kids, and so you go up and down the scale. I, got as low as, I remember being so proud because I was 115 pounds. And I mean, if I saw that girl now, I would be like, I could break you. Like, I would not, like, that's no longer what I think is beautiful. It's so crazy how much I've shifted and changed. But coming into this space now, I feel so empowered, and I almost don't even recognize the past me that was.
Yeah. And this is a much better version, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Mentally and emotionally, for sure. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was about 26. And so this was after I got married about 21, immediately had kids, like one after another, because I definitely didn't feel like I was good enough unless I had at least 2, or, what am I doing as a stay-at-home mom with just 1 kid? I don't know.
The pressure.
Yeah, and I just I didn't know how I fit into those roles. When you change identities, you go from just being yourself and all of a sudden you're a wife, and it's a whole new role. And then immediately after, jumping into motherhood, I don't think people realize, like, you need some prepping for that.
You do.
And nobody preps us for how to actually experience life. They teach you some math and science, and they don't teach you what to do with the words going between your 2 ears, those thoughts that are generated, and why you don't feel confident, and we just don't understand what's going on with the thought, the internal world.
And I think that really the pressure that tells us that we're supposed to be blissfully happy in those roles, and those days that you wake up and you're like, I'm really not, what's wrong with me?
And then you just judge yourself.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's my message for sure. I judged myself against the ideals I had, which the ideals I had were based on society, religion, parents, all the stuff you get programmed with,
Yeah.
And so they really weren't based on what I actually thought. I kind of thought of myself a little bit as a philosopher when I was younger, and I wrote some poetry, and I thought I was pretty, I thought I was pretty dumb, actually. I thought I was pretty dumb. I put my stuff down. I put myself down. I put my thoughts down. Yeah. And all the stuff I wrote and all the things I did, I put it down, and I realized, it's taken me my whole life to realize I have been my own worst critic my whole life.
Yes.
I have been abusing myself my whole life right here. and then blaming other people for the abuse that, you know, that they put on me. But I really have been abusing myself my whole life. And that's my major goal now, is just any moment I see where I'm self-abusing, I'm like eliminating that, not doing that. I love me, and I will not do that to myself anymore.
That's amazing. A lot of women do that. I mean, I heard someone say once, when you start to think negative about yourself, just ask yourself, would you ever say that to someone else?
Yeah.
And it stops you dead in your tracks when you realize just how mean you're being to yourself.
I wouldn't treat my friend that way.
Yeah,
and that's when you start to see yourself as your own best friend and think, well, this is my buddy. I think of my body as my buddy for life. And so like I have this relationship now with it where I just really deeply appreciate being a human and having what this is. And I see how easily it can get taken away. And it's amazing. And you gotta appreciate. Yeah. You gotta appreciate, me especially.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of women disconnect from that because they think this is me, but really, instead of thinking themselves as like a soul or an energy, or a body with a soul or energy, you know, reverting that to thinking, well, I'm that soul with this body, and so I need to really take care of it and love it just as I need to take care and love, you know, my soul, my energy.
Yeah, like, I mean, if I owned a pet right now, a lot of people are treating their pets better than they treat themselves, you know? And it's like that. It's like, this is like my little pet. This is my body. It's my buddy. I get to go through life with it. It is rad. Yeah. It's rad. And I've come into a place where my life where I'm strong and I can do things. And so there's a lot of things I don't have to say no to. I go, yeah, I want to go try that, because even if I'm not good at it, I know I'm strong enough that I can like muscle my way through something and fake it, you know? Yeah. Like I'll figure that out.
Enjoy it on the way.
I don't have to know how to rock climb. Let's go. Like I don't need to know.
I think you might need to know that one if you're going to be dangerous, but yes.
Just a little, but you know, like, you know, it's very fun. And I'll just say I'm enjoying this life better than I enjoyed my past one, but we might want to talk a little bit about what my past life was like.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of touch up on that, because like you mentioned, you were home, you were kind of tinkering around with these new identities, wife, mother, a little bit of depression, a little bit of self-image issues, no self-love. Yeah. Where did that lead you?
Oh, a couple years. I mean, I had baby after baby. I had 3, but I put them all pretty close together. They were all less than 2 years apart.
Wow.
And so what that did to me nutritionally just was it wrecked me. There was no prenatal that could encompass all the things I wasn't doing for myself, if that makes sense. So there was no vitamin that would be enough, you know, to really create a safe environment for children to come into. And I didn't realize that I didn't know how to provide that. So as my kids were little, as they were toddlers, I was very mentally unwell. I actually developed a cutting habit, which I messed around a little bit as a youth and cut myself a few times. And this is something a lot of people don't really talk about. Yeah. And I absolutely, in some of my darkest years of that marriage, being probably so hormonally off from having kids back to back, nutritionally completely jacked up. My diet was like Mountain Dew and top ramen. I mean, it was ridiculous how I did not take care of myself. And I found myself right around the time I was diagnosed bipolar, just completely shredding my legs, you know, razor blades, and no one in my experience could understand that. You know what I mean? I was very LDS, very around that kind of people, and their advice was, you know, go commit yourself into an institution. So I finally did get some help, and I worked with a therapist. After, really it wasn't until I cheated on my husband that absolutely was destroying my life. Like I was just exploding from the inside out. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing in life anymore. I was no longer that good girl. I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't know how to be a wife. I didn't know how to do any of it. And I didn't even know how to be me. I didn't know how to be me in those roles. So going back, it's like all the memories just come back.
I appreciate you. I really do honor your ability to be vulnerable with us, because a lot of women can relate and think that they're alone. It
was really after my second son was born that I had such bad postpartum. I didn't want to hold him. I didn't want to change his diaper. I knew that I loved him, but I couldn't feel anything. And that's what a lot of people can really relate with, is that feeling of, you know, later I got diagnosed with depression, and then later the bipolar disorder, but regardless, it's just that feeling of not being able to connect. And I felt like I wasn't responsible for it. I felt like it had been taken from me, like robbed from me. But the truth that I can see now is I was responsible for that, because it wasn't something that happened to me. It was something I created with years of not taking care of myself, with years of not understanding basic nutrition and self-care, and just letting other people make decisions for you and not owning your own voice, and that is painful.
Brian,
that
can you grab us some tissues, baby? Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, that's painful in life. Like, I really couldn't connect, and I spent years trying to rebuild that connection and figure out how I could get back to myself. Had another kid, started all over with, you know, hormones and never feeling like yourself. And then I'd blown one of my ACLs out and had surgery. That got me started on a Percocet addiction because there was some long-term damage that was done. And so then I had this Percocet addiction for like a year because I was given, you know, 200 milligrams a month. I mean, the amounts that they prescribe you is just unreal.
Here, baby. Thank you.
Thanks. So,
and on top of that,
yeah.
I mean, during this, I mean, Percocet alone makes you depressed, and I can imagine that, at least I have felt, and I'm sure there are other women, that when you lose that connection, like you were mentioning, going through postpartum, it's almost like you're too shameful to even talk about it because you feel like it's something that's wrong with you. Like everybody else loves their new babies, or everybody, and so you don't want to tell anybody because you feel like you should feel a different way, and so you hide it and you keep it in.
It was dark, and nobody understood me. Yeah, and the best I was getting was a little bit of care with, you know, take this pill. I saw a doctor. I was so proud of myself for seeing a doctor, admitting I had a problem, seeing a doctor. Like, these were my initial steps to health. Just admitting I had a problem, and I didn't know there was a different way than just taking a pill, but I was doing the best that I could. And so, like, a real amazing one therapist I saw, the one takeaway I got from that was she said that everybody's doing the best they can. And I got this idea that, like, that actually was enough. To do the best you could was actually enough. And when we judge ourselves against the ideal that we're capable of imagining, being capable of imagining ourselves do something better isn't the same as us actually being able to do it better. It's actually the first step, which is great. But our problem, I see, in reaching our own ideals is that we stop ourselves in our progress because we judge ourselves for not already being the ideal. And when we do that, we literally halt our own progress.
And there's my problem right there. I had this conversation on the way here today. I kid you not. You just totally diagnosed my problem. I love it.
Perfect.
Anyway, sorry. Okay.
No, that's so awesome.
I can relate to that.
That's a big thing.
So much. Because, yeah, you look at what you should be or could be, and you're not there, and then you see yourself as a failure, and then you stunt your own growth, and you stunt your progress, and yes, I'm there.
So now that I know the equation that creates success for me, I have rapid success. I know how to manifest things so quickly. But back here in this stage, when I was just drudging, it felt like I was like just going through a thick fog. And I couldn't, nobody said, hey, guess what? I've got this awesome formula for you and it's gonna work great. And it's not pills, it's just rewiring how you think. I feel like I would have grasped to that. But that's not what was being offered to me because that wasn't the norm. We were a military family. We went to the military hospital. You did what? You took the healthcare that was free, that was available to you. That's how most people are operating. They go, well, if I have to pay cash for that, I'm not going to do it. But if my insurance will pay for it, then I will. And so we limit ourselves, you know, from getting better help, honestly. So back then, yeah, it was dark. It was hard. Having access to all of that Percocet, I ended up having suicidal thoughts at one point, which led me into, over the course of 2 days, eating 89 of my 90 Percocets.
Oh my goodness.
So as it turns out, if I were probably to swallow all of them at once, you most likely would throw them up. Hopefully your body would handle that for you and you may or may not survive that, right? But taking them slowly every 5 hours over the course of 48 hours, I digested every one.
Oh my goodness. And
they were 5 milligrams each. Before that, my prescription was 10s. But like, because I was actually weaning off, and I had actually weaned off completely, and the pain clinic didn't know yet. And I was having these suicidal thoughts. And when I went into my next appointment, I just let them give me what they would give me. So anyways, I had them, I wasn't taking them, and they would just sit there, and I just would have these thoughts that was like, take the whole bottle. You know, and it wasn't my thought, and it, that's a whole nother path, that's a whole nother conversation, but basically what ended up happening is I didn't end up going to hospital for several days. I did get very sick, but I survived. When I did finally go to the hospital, I found out that, in fact, I would be dying in several days. Their diagnosis was, you will die this week. Oh, your liver will shut down, and then all of your other organs will shut down, and like, this is it. And so that was what I was told. They were doing liver functions. My husband called my mom. She immediately started driving from Utah to Texas to come be there before her daughter died. And when the doctor asked me, he said, do you want to die? He said, do you want to die? And I wasn't really sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of was like, it could go either way for me. Either way would be okay.
Wow.
But when I looked at him, I decided in that moment, I said, no, I don't. I think I want, you know. And it was funny, it was a decision in that moment that I made that, I mean, I began to be well. And when they came back with the liver tests, he said, I don't know what to tell you. That your liver functions are 100%. He said, whatever God you believe in, that's where we categorize this kind of thing. Wow. And I just was like, okay, well, of course I believed in a very different God that I believe in now, but I believed in a God, and I had that priesthood blessing, and I believed that was probably why I survived, you know. But I'm starting to learn, I've had a lot of encounters with death, and it's me. I'm not supposed to go. I'm supposed to be here. And I was supposed to learn some lessons about suicide. I was supposed to learn some lessons about death. And it's all like, I can look back now and go, this has all been a beautiful education for me. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for it. But at the time, of course, I couldn't see, this is my education, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It was a nightmare. I was living in hell. And I couldn't see, this is for my highest good. This is for my greater future that I'm now experiencing. This is what life is for. This is called your education. You didn't go to school, April, but you came to Earth.
Wow.
You know, you didn't decide to go to college, but you came to Earth, and you're getting your degree.
Well, that was the hardest class I imagine you had to
That
take.
was a big one. And
Yeah.
as it turns out, I ended up making some decisions about life. And that was my first suicide attempt. I had others later that taught me more. So I've survived a lot as far as it goes. I've been in some dark places, it's like to suffice to say.
Yeah.
And one of the most powerful things that really helped pull me out, I started thinking about this last night, and I was like, what was it, you know? And I can go back in my life now and I can see the pattern. And first it was like an LDS AA program, and it was my first dose of self-help, you know? And I didn't.
Little taste that gets you hooked.
Oh God, and you know, I thought it was, maybe the program, I thought it was this, but it was really just the dose of self-help. And it got me started. And later, when I finally dove into step 4, anyone that's done AA knows step 4 is like, we avoid it. And it's the moral written inventory. And when I finally sat down and thought, I'm gonna do this, because I've been going to these classes for years, and I kind of mentally just skip over step 4 because I didn't want to write all the bad things. I thought I was supposed to write all the bad things I ever did. I had a dumb perspective of it, you know. And so when I sat down and really tried to do it, I learned that I could pose questions and then write my feelings answer it the best I could. And the next day, I would have inspiration to go deeper. And the next day, if I reread the same question, I had inspiration that unveiled deeper. And I realized that through the simple act of writing and posing high quality question and then writing about it, that I actually was the best therapist I'd ever had.
Wow.
And that's when I learned, like, this is something I want to use and assist other people. Well, I didn't know that maybe at the time, but that helped me the most. So
self-reflection and
yes, and it's so simple, these tools, like, get some self-help, because nobody else can do it for you.
Yeah, I have been on that journey, even if it wasn't, you know, for me at the time, I didn't realize it was self-help, it was relationship help. with my husband and we both just said there's answers out there. I mean, if we don't know what we're doing, that doesn't mean that it can't be done.
Right.
We just have to find the answers. And I was absolutely stunned at how much information was readily available, and it would change things like this. Just becoming aware of the smallest things, it really does just change everything. And that's what's changed my life with everything since then, because if there is a problem, I don't instantly just go, oh great, there's another problem, what am I going to do? I know there's somebody out there who knows how to fix it, who knows what to do. Just go find it, go get it, go do it. And don't be afraid of self-help. Like, so many people are ashamed to admit that they need help in any area, and I'm like, no, don't waste time. Just go find it, go do it, go get it.
Yes, the information is out there, and posing a high-quality question, that's one of the major things I coach, is pose high-quality questions for yourself. Because when you ask yourself, oh, why me? Why is this happening to me? You might get some really awful answers. Like,
usually you do.
Your brain might go out there and come up with, well, because you're a piece of crap, you know, because look at how you're not smart. Look at how, you know, it will come up with things from your past to let you know why. And posing a better quality question, like, how is this for my highest good? Your brain then actively goes searching for that answer, and let me tell you, that answer is out there too.
Far different than the first one.
And you'll get a lot better, you get a lot more out of your life when you're asking that question than the why me question. And that's changed my life big time.
That's neat. So you went through this dark period, suicidal, you've got divorce, you've got these kids, and you're slowly picking up through the programs, understanding to ask yourself questions. So was there any like moment, like you mentioned just that one step 4, is that where you headed on this new path, or was it still kind of a slow progress?
It was still a little sticky and slow, and because I really didn't know what I was doing or what I was looking for, and I didn't realize how much information was out there for me. And so things have sped up a lot since I've come into those beliefs. And I didn't know at the time I was posing high quality questions. I just was doing something, you know? And now I can see it, and now I could teach that to somebody else, and they could skip a lot of the slow steps that I was drudging through, you know? So that was about after my divorce. Absolutely, I got divorced. I imploded my marriage after 8 years. Right after I got divorced from my husband, I started into the step 4. I got running and going a little bit. I spent a good year as a drug addict after that. I don't know, I just connected with my brother. We got ourselves into trouble. At first just goofing off, and then really deep, got really deep into some trouble. And this is, my kids are, they're living with their dad, but they were still living here at the time. And so I could get away with being nobody really knew. I could get away with being a sober mom every other weekend. Yeah. And I still held a full-time job, ran a part-time business in addition to having kind of like closet addictions, you know. I was still pretty functional, so it didn't completely destroy my life, but I kind of came to a crossroads with that, where my brother OD'd and almost lost his life, almost lost his leg, had a stroke. I mean, the whole thing was so traumatic to me because I felt very responsible for being there with him during it, that we moved away. He had to go and be in the hospital for a while, and then lived with my mom, and I moved out and realized I had to do something different. And at this point, I'm 29, 30, 31, 32, 32 maybe, 32. 33? Okay, somewhere in there.
You look so young.
I'm trying to figure out how old
you that young anyway.
So I'm 36 now, so I was about 33. And that's when I found CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I was just letting go of these other addictions. And I needed it desperately. I needed something desperately that was a positive addiction, you know, because we're all addicted to everything around us. And so it's really not about you're an addict or you're not. It's what are you addicted to? And are you addicted to high quality positive things, or are you addicted to low quality negative things?
Yeah.
So I got very addicted to CrossFit. I worked my butt off. I became a trainer.
Wow.
I would go in 2 times a day. About 2 years into my journey, I was wrecking my body. I didn't know how to recover. I didn't, you know, I was your classic CrossFitter who was obsessed, but didn't really know how to take care of their body.
Yeah.
And that led me into, that's when things really sped up for me. So that 2 years, my first 2 years of CrossFit, you start working out, you want to eat better. You eat better, you feel better, you sleep better. Oh, then you're sleeping better, then you're working out better and eating better and sleeping. You know, it all snowballs.
Cyclical.
Yes, and so I've just continued to try to improve those cycles. Like, if I can improve my sleep, I know it'll improve everything else. And then I'll learn something new, how to improve my sleep. And then if I can improve, you know, this part of my life, if I can improve my workout or my recovery, what I really started focusing on was recovery.
Yeah.
That got me into meditation. That got me into Wim Hof and breathing techniques.
Breathing, oh.
That got me into,
Stuff.
picked up a sponsorship at US cryotherapy, you know, where you go into the cold chambers and you basically, you're doing the Wim Hof thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then I even have a little part-time job there where I'll go assist them when they're short on hours or short on people, because I love being there. I love, I don't really need the job. I love the job though. And so we have like this flexible relationship that I say, just call me when you need me. And they sponsor me and they assist me. And of course I go in for recovery.
That's amazing. I actually,
oh God, it's the
not
best.
to digress here, but got to be at a conference with him, and he did these breathing techniques and everything, and it was really, I had not even heard of him before the conference. He was a special guest, and then after that I was hooked. He's just amazing what he teaches, and very cool.
So cool.
Anyway, I'm glad to hear that that's part of your gig.
Yeah, you know, part of my story and actual something people can take away from this, you know, to assist them in their lives is how I found I could increase and speed up my path of progression instead of it being so slow and sticky. One, I mean, the more aware you become, you realize what you can do in your life. It's like, educate yourself. And so my primary thing is I started with educating myself, because the first thing that I had been interested in a long time was CrossFit. And so I found myself with the desire to learn more, and we're supposed to follow our desire. And so I dove into podcasts about CrossFit and YouTube videos. I didn't even, you know, I'd go, okay, tomorrow's workout of the day is snatch. What's a snatch again? You know? And so I'd go look on YouTube, and I'd watch 8 videos about how to snatch, you know? And I'd go, okay, and then I'd go to bed, and I wake up in the morning, and I'd get there, and I'd be like, how do I do it again? You know? And it was but I felt like I had to do that just to figure it out, you know? And I really wanted to do a good job. I don't know why. I just did. And this is the key. Take whatever you're interested in and follow it. You're like, go down the rabbit hole, because what I found through CrossFit podcast was Wim Hof, and then I dove off in that direction. And then through breathing work, I found this thing, and I dove off in that direction. And then from that, I found this, and then this, and it's the avenue. Just following whatever you're interested.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it. That's all you got to do. Follow your desire. You know, like, it's going to lead you into whatever you need to know.
For that self-improvement and that self-love and that new identity.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a completely different person. I couldn't be more proud of saying I'm a completely different person, because some people, I think I wish I could just wake up in another life, you know, and go, guess what? You can. Yeah. It might take you like 1 or 2 years, but you can absolutely. I woke up and I'm in a different life now.
Yeah. Well, because like you said, it's only been, what, 2-3 years, and you were on the TV show on AMC.
Yeah. I'm 4 years into my fitness journey. 2 years in is about where I started wrecking my body, having injuries show up for me, diving into information.
All the new stuff.
Right? Applying that the best that I could over the last 2 years. And what I found is it gave me a thirst for knowledge, a thirst for life. I find myself studying quantum physics. I find myself studying math and geometry, things I didn't think I was even interested in.
It's interesting how it all kind of ties in the end.
Because the high quality questions I was posing, I wanted to understand consciousness and more about myself. And as it turns out, studying quantum physics will give you a great understanding of what consciousness is and about what the nature of reality is. And I didn't know that before. And I wish you need some quantum physics for beginners. And I teach some concepts because you need to know this.
It's amazing how much your perspective on life changes with
Yeah,
just a little
and it's
bit of
graspable. It really is.
Yeah.
It's line upon line.
Not as intimidating as you think if
you got to get the
small steps.
basics, and then you go, oh, and you know, maybe I'm still in the basics. I don't know where I'm at in my evolution, but wherever it is, it's serving me well.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it was about 4 years. I was 2 years in, I became a trainer. I started training other people. I found that what I loved the most was watching other people grow.
Yeah.
And watching them take those steps and accelerate their life. And so I realized I wanted to do more of having people grow than I did necessarily showing them how to move properly. I do like showing people movement, and but I like figuring out why people who want to get into the gym but won't let themselves get into the gym. See, I'm all about the psychology of it.
Yeah.
I'm just more interested in that. And so then I go, ooh, how can I get her who thinks she's not good enough? And she comes in and all she does is judge herself against everybody else. And she doesn't know how to sit in her own skin. And she doesn't know how to talk to herself kindly or be her friend. And so instead she judges herself so harshly that she doesn't come back ever again.
Yeah.
Because why would you go somewhere that feels so abusive?
Yeah.
And if you go to the gym and all you do is abuse yourself, you'll never come back.
Yeah.
You'll never go back. I mean, you'll never reach your goal.
Yeah.
With a mind like that.
And so many women have that. I mean, I would say the majority of the women really do feel intimidated, not just with the gym, but even with themselves on a video at home in their living room.
Oh, you feel awkward and I don't know how to do this. And all I want to do is show people that I didn't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to do a squat. I couldn't do one pull-up. I could not do one thing when I started CrossFit.
Wow.
And what I saw was that there was a path and there was a way. And there's always a scaled movement that will move you further into the proper movement that you're aiming for. And so then I figured out that if you don't abuse yourself, you won't quit. And then if you don't quit, you will get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Broken Skull, going on the Broken Skull Challenge was all about facing my fear. And it opened me up to deeper levels of where I was self-abusing, where I wasn't believing in myself. I know where I lost. Like, I loved that show, and I won a few challenges, and I had some strong convictions about I'm gonna win this. And where I lost, I know why I lost. I know so much about myself because I did that, and it was so scary.
Oh, I can imagine.
And it was so hard.
Yeah.
And I had never seen the show when I applied for it.
Wow.
So I did not know what I was getting myself into until after I did the interview, and my daughter pulls it up on YouTube and says, "Look it." And
wow.
She showed it to me, and I was like,
panic attack.
This is games athletes that win this. This is not, oh, hi, I'm April and I like to work out. And, you know, I'm already a master's athlete. I started at 33, so I'm already a master's athlete. And I'm so proud of that.
That's, you should be.
People don't understand, you know, they don't understand why at 35, 36, you know, why are you striving to be an athlete? And I do, I claim to be an athlete.
It's apparent.
You go, why would you, you know, what are you going to get out of that?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know, but I love the journey.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of it yet, but I can feel it. And I felt it since the first 3 months in. I'm CrossFitting for 3 months, and then CrossFit Regionals was in Utah, and I went and I watched, and in that moment I knew I was going to be her.
Wow.
Like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be that girl. Like, I can do that. And I believed it. For maybe that was one of the first things I ever really believed about myself, and it seemed insane. But I wondered, how long will it take me to get there? Will it take me 2 years? Will it take me 4 years? You know, like, I didn't know. And I still don't know what it looks like for me, but I'm so excited to find out. Like, every day I have value in training. I love what it teaches me.
And now you are sharing it with others, which, you know, in stalking your pages and things, I've noticed that that's really at the core who you have become, is someone who wants to help others get out of their dark times and see that they can do it themselves. You know, as long as, as you go along your own journey and path and still improving and still growing and still setting all of that, you are grabbing everybody you can on the way and
Oh,
showing
absolutely.
them that they can do that too. And
I want everybody to come on my ride with me, because it's like, it's not my ride with me, you know, it's their own ride, but it's like, this has been the most amazing experience to learn how to come into myself, learn how to be confident, to realize that confidence is a skill that you just learn. It's not something you're born with or you're not. It's something that you learn. And I love, that's one of my favorite things to teach. I love working with teenagers, and I love teaching them, because if somebody had just even maybe given me that thought, you know, you think of the movie Inception, and an idea is so powerful. And if somebody had given me that idea at 16, that I could learn how, hey, you may not know, you may not feel like you're good at something right now, but you can actually learn how to be good at anything. Like, there's, you know, simple ideas would have changed how I thought about myself. And for me to be able to give a simple idea to someone else, and that's like, at that, it makes everything I went through okay. It's like, okay.
And it makes it so much easier for you to empathize and to relate. And I think a lot of people seek that. They seek those people who have been there or gone through it, or because they want to know that they're understood. And it is so empowering to see someone go from dark to amazing, like you did, because it does give hope to some of us that feel like we're so deep in this pit that there is no climbing out. So,
and I did, most of my best work was free. It's me, myself, reading a good book. Self-educating is the most amazing tool. Which is why I think it's amazing that you have been through what you've been through and that you want to share that. And so you offer this 9-week program. So your business, Blue Lotus Rising, Blue Lotus Rising. So that's not only do you really identify with that, but it's something that you're creating to offer others, correct? Like this 9-week. And it hits up on all these things that you're talking about, asking yourself the good questions and the holistic confidence
things
building. Starting to get an understanding a little bit more of connecting body to movement to overall health. I really help open, what I feel like I do best at right now is help people open them up to new ideas. So you might say, we're going to go through this 9-week program. You're going to learn how to eat mindfully. You're going to learn how a person can build confidence. You're going to learn how to set healthy boundaries, and really most of it is just clearing up things in the mind that we didn't like,
negative
conflicting
thoughts.
Beliefs. You know, it's kind of, some of it is just clearing up old beliefs that you'd been hanging on to since you were, you know, a little kid, and you don't know they're still affecting your whole life.
The understanding that I want to relay to women so powerfully is that finding yourself in a bad place is not debilitating. You know, you can't find yourself just stuck there and woe is me, or I'm a victim, or feeling sorry for yourself, or blaming anyone else. Just taking ownership of, okay, well, this is where I'm at. And that's that. Not bad, not good. It's just the fact. And saying, I can improve it. There are answers out there. Taking the steps and really just moving in that direction, no matter what that direction is. And it's not as intimidating and scary, and you don't have to worry about failure, because as long as you're moving and learning, you're not failing. You know, you're making that progress. And that's why I really love your story, and I love that the women can come to you and get that guidance, and because sometimes it takes a long time, like you wander for a long time.
I felt like I wandered for a long time.
And so it is amazing to have resources like you that women can go to and say, okay, here I am, I'm stuck. I know that you can help. I know that you can fix it. Let's just do this. Cut through the bullshit and get there. And
let's just feel better. Like you can start feeling better so fast. So fast you can start feeling better. Oh, that's the best part, is seeing that light come on in people's eyes and they just go, oh wait, I might actually be able to step out of victimhood. You know, it's so amazing.
And you learn to I guess, fulfill your own needs rather than living off of whatever you were getting being a victim. You find that there's much healthier ways.
Like you're either addicted to being a victim or you're addicted to being a creator. And you know, I was addicted to being a victim for a long time in my life, and I didn't recognize that. And now I'm absolutely addicted to being a creator, and it makes life is just this unfolding story that is so exciting to me, and it is just, it's magical. I mean, and that sounds so nerdy, and I don't care.
Oh
and
no, I love
and
that
I don't
word.
care if I use all the new age terms, and I don't care what anybody thinks about it, because like my inner self is this like punk rock hippie, and I know those things don't go together, and I make them go together.
You pull it
I'm
off
like the
beautifully.
punk rock hippie gym rat now. I don't even, you're like, these are 3 things that do not belong, you know.
I'm gonna make you a shirt that says that.
Dude, my hippie friends are like, who are you, you know? And then like my gym friends are like, I'm an oddball everywhere I go.
You found who you are, and that's
it.
amazing. And you are very comfortable in it, and you pull it off well. And please tell our viewers what it is, where they can go, how they can find you.
You know, one of the best things you can do is just go follow me on Instagram. My handle is @AprilCrossFitCoach. And you can just go there, and I am really good about getting back to my DMs. Okay. So private messages, feel free. I'll give you my contact information from there. I'm also on Facebook, of course. It's just April Jorgenson.
And you're a lot of fun to follow. I mean, I have just really enjoyed all of your stuff, and I don't doubt that our universes were supposed to collide, because it like you said, magically happened, and you've been an inspiration. I love everywhere you take your stuff. I mean, it's just, you've sucked me in, and I just enjoy all of it. Thank you for sharing your story and helping women and being vulnerable and putting yourself out there and not being ashamed of what you went through, and just really living life and sharing that with us.
I am not ashamed of the education that I've received on this planet.
Keep growing. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us. I really hope that you will go to April's page, check her out. She's a lot of fun to follow, just amazing advice and tips. And of course, that 9-week program is available. Take her up on that. If you're finding yourself just needing that extra inspiration or that direction or that path, or if you find yourself really feeling like I'm in a rut, don't think that you can't do it. Don't think that you can't climb out of it. Don't be too ashamed to open up and say, here's where I am, and I'm depressed or sad, or even at the bipolar stage.
I just want to say, a lot of people don't believe that you can get better as a bipolar, and they don't believe that you can ever be medication free, and that if you are, you're managing your illness. And I just want to say that it's an illness that is very misunderstood, and it is my goal to bring a light of information to what it can be when you go from bipolar disorder into bipolar in order. It's a whole new thing.